But let's see here. Where did we go wrong other than aiming? We currently... Oh, Jebediah's back. Nice to see you back in action. I don't know what happened to those other tourists of yours. Now, here's the thing, is that I can't really use that same design that I had previously just from well, how do I put this? It's a little too expensive, and I do agree with what you're saying, Cal. I should go to the spaceplane hangar and try and send some tourists that way. My problem with planes, first off, is that I'm terrible at flying them. I'm terrible at building them. I can give it a shot just for y'all's amusement if you'd like to see it. But let's see here. We're just going to kind of freeform this now. Where can we improve this design from before? Let's take you guys off for a second. Because if we really want to get into space, I guess one thing we're going to need to do here is maybe add a little bit of extra stuff. I mean, we reached the moon, that's cool. We just didn't mission accomplish the moon. And those fins, for some reason, are having a weird time. Alright. Feels like I should use some space tape here, but I have not unlocked struts. So we'll just do it like this time. Now, what would probably be more efficient? I want to try it like this first. Just because, and this is the kind of stuff that I tend to do off camera or edit out if I'm just trying to experiment here. But since we're on stream, we can play with this just a little bit differently here. So here's one way to try and design this. Do we have any aerodynamic nose cones? Because those actually matter this go around. All right, I'm going to take some big boosters. We'll limit their thrust to 40%. Hopefully that gets us further out into space. Hopefully these winglets are enough. And maybe this time, Jebediah, we can actually return some science. So we don't have solar panels. Ugh. Do we need a... We have 2 batteries. That's probably good enough. Yeah, let's try this. This will be fun. I guess maybe I'm flying off-center every time because my ship is not sitting on the center. I don't know. Okay, this is actually a little wacky, I think. Okay, we definitely need a parachute on there. Alright, I feel like these things are not exactly lined up correctly. Alright. This is why I always try and do justification. I always try to have toggle snap on for these things. Okay. Moon jump. 2. Last time was the moon arrow, and we shot the moon and we hit. This time is going to be... we probably need to reset. No, we're still good there. Let's put this one on the same stage. Well, we don't have fuel lines. Right? We don't have fuel lines. So there's no great reason to start burning this one. We'll do these little side packs first. This is really heavy, and this is where I've gotten, not complaints before, but interesting asides from people saying, I could get to the moon with a way smaller rocket. You're absolutely right. I could consolidate my design and get to the moon with a way smaller rocket too. In fact, if I'd put these instead of the tiny boosters, Valentina might still be alive, but we'll fly in her honor. Alright, and you know what we're going to do this time that we didn't do last time? We're going to... Because that flight actually didn't take a very long time. I don't know if there's a skip to daytime button out here. I know there is in the tracking center. But I'd rather, especially because we're on stream, I would much rather do as much daytime flying as possible. Yeah, apparently we're playing fast and loose with what we do on the launch pad. But Same as before, SAS on. Let's revert. Okay, so apparently 40% thrust is not enough. Let's do 70% thrust. Like, the ship just barely even, like, wiggled. Which tends to... okay, so that time it wiggled a lot. This is where I really like having my struts available, so we'll let this turn around. Here comes the sun. Doot, 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 doot. Copyright strike. Here we go. Daytime flying. Will this work? Not only will it not work, but for some reason we're flying to the side. Alright. Let's do this another way this time. So we're gonna do 80. We're gonna do 80% because we're close. I may just say screw it and go 100%. The bigger thing is that I don't really like how the game's just dropping this off and kind of letting it lean, but that's been a problem with the Kerbal Space Program pretty much since its inception. So warp to next morning. Can we warp a little faster? Maybe. Good morning. Alright, that's better. Warp complete. Autosave ship. Which is also this ship. Let's just launch it. Alright, how do we get to the moon? Well, usually we fly there. Okay, so I still don't know for sure if this is all just hanging out too far, but let's... like, I hate that wiggling there. But we're at least going up, which is better than we have done before. And we're pitching just a little bit. We'll let Jebediah just take this one over. We can do any course corrections later on. We're pitching a lot, but we're still going upwards. Alright, so we can probably not do 100% there. That'd be okay. Well, that's exciting. Kerbal joint reinforcement. Yeah, that's a good idea. Do you know if that's available for a 1.1 yet? Okay, let's see here. We're going straight up this time, in theory. Yeah, we're gonna babysit this with SAS this time. I am doing 100% thrust power, which could be good. The idea here, hopefully, is that we spin it to win it and knock these things aside. This is what we call ugly launches. Ugly launches are fun launches. How are you doing today, Ada, or is it Oda? Alright, so we're going up. There we go. That's a little better. Maybe. Now I just need to find our 90 degrees and we can go ahead and start a gravity turn. And we got the wiggles. Got so much wiggle in here. Alright, this is like the worst gravity turn ever. That's okay. Alright, we're recovering, we haven't even zoomed in yet. So yeah, we're taking over-engineered ships into space. Because it's fun. And this is the gravity turn we want, we just don't want to be on fire when we're doing it. So let's slow it down a little bit. Every time we catch on fire, everything like that is a little bit more inefficiency that we don't need. So we're just going to go ahead I'm down for having a higher orbit. Alright. So that went off like it's supposed to. So 132. We're going to the moon anyway, so it doesn't really make too much of a big deal if we just do it like this. SAS is going to love the lurching, though. Alright. So we are higher, getting knocked down ever so slightly. But here we are. Look at these beautiful little fuel tanks just flying off. Moon, that's where we want to go to back there. Last time we actually flew into the moon and had barely enough fuel to get anywhere. This time, hopefully, we can do some material study from by the moon. Because we did return science from the moon, at least, so that's a positive. We didn't have contracts for it, which is technically not good for min-maxing. But I'm really trying to test and see the contextual contracts. Can we make those work? All right, so we are fast approaching. Let's go ahead and start our burn, like down here. All right, back on 90 degrees. Not really raising our apoapsis too much. Like I said, this is all energy we'll have to use to get into space anyway. All right. Just wait for all the fuel to burn out. We can just get into an orbit right now. It'd be so nice. Alright. So we technically want to do this, on both sides of the apoapsis as best as possible. Looks like we're going to have a little more inefficiency, but there's the moon. We are getting close to it. There we go. Alright, so 130, 100. And we've almost burned through this. So where do we want to go? Once again, we actually hit the moon perfectly last time. Let's focus on Kerbal, even though this broke our ability to do things last time. I'd rather, once again, do this burn in the daylight. So let's see. That's the right location. So we want to be right around here. No, we don't have to do this from the map. And actually, correct me if I'm wrong, but pretty much if you're in a certain level of orbit around any of the planets, this is the place you need to exit from regardless. But you can see the moon is already coming around the horizon. We've technically, if we were going without map, without maneuver notes, without anything, we could have started burning right there. But this means we are at our burn window. So let's not do it too far, too fast. All right, so we missed it slightly. That's okay. We're gonna be out beyond Kerbal very soon. So. Burn prograde. We're not burning at the moon, we're burning prograde, and terrier time. Look at this, we're actually, instead of having to use that engine to orbit, we are now using this engine to actually do our transfer, which is what we want. This engine can get you really far. Is it still true that in some instances this engine's actually more efficient than the nuclear engines? I forget what those breakpoints are, but it has to do with like what's your mission weight and everything. I'm pretty sure that's still the case. Alright, so we're going to be here for a little bit. Once again, we're just... Okay, this time we're not going to fly into the moon, I think. Actually, I'm a little worried we're about to miss the moon. I think we missed our mark. So we're going to fly out a little bit past the moon to see if we can let it catch up. Like, I should have burned a little bit further back. But still, we got plenty of fuel. So we can see, like I said, we're going to just go a little bit above and beyond. The moon is at 140. Let's do like 1170. See if it can catch up with us. So missed my mark there. We do have enough fuel if we can get a good approach to actually orbit the moon. So here we go, everybody, again. We don't want to transfer a crew here. Crew report. Nothing. We don't have docking ports, so we can't do that yet. We're currently flying in Kerbal Shadow. So let's hear. How badly did we miss the moon? We missed it pretty grossly this time. It may still catch up. We may still be able to get into its sphere of influence. That's all we really want. So if I burn a little more prograde, let's see here, the moon is going to be catching up pretty hard. We may catch it on the... Yep, there we go. We could be flying retrograde into the moon, but at least we're here, right? Said it's all about sloppy orbits. And once again, look at this. We, for the second time in a row, are on a collision course with the moon. What are the odds? Well, technically, considering the moon is the largest object orbiting around Kerbal, they are certainly better than odds of doing other things. So we shall go ahead and transfer this. That's 50 science. We're not taking it home with us. Let's go ahead and open this. We want to get all these materials studies. Goo. Keep experiment. And we may be able to double up and log the temperature. I want to kind of hold on to this right now. Hold on to our power. But we have one more log that we can possibly make here. So, how do we save ourselves from a retrograde death around the moon? Let's see. We do not currently have any way of, like... Alright. We don't have any of nodes or anything, so we're going to have to fly this kind of by ear. But we have the fuel to do it, and we certainly have the time to do it, I think. So if we fly this way, nope. It's always the opposite of what you're doing. So if we can get ourselves out just a little bit. And it's most efficient to try and do these. Okay, still not letting me transfer to moon. This is weird. Okay. Not on a collision course. Now 17. Let's do a 20 periapsis. And then that way we can see if we can slam the brakes and slow this down. So at least we're still on the 90 here. So that's good. Mostly on the 90. And we're getting closer, closer. Let's actually look at the moon. Hello, moon. We're going to orbit you today, or die trying. Hopefully just actually orbit it. 50,000. I mean, this is a decent orbit to do it from, like, this position. But the way I'm coming in, I don't want to slow down so much that we start having problems. So let's see here. Can we do a different crew report from a little closer? No, it's still space high over. So we need to get low. Alright, this is probably... Said all we want to do, even if it's like the most elliptical orbit ever, we just don't want to slow down to the point where we suddenly are starting to land on the moon. Because we did not come equipped for that. We don't have the fuel to escape the moon. We don't have landing gears associated with this. So let's see here. Elliptical orbit, is it a go? Alright, and that's part of the fun part, is that you have to know a little bit about the moon. Like, it'll say, oh, look, you have apoapsis here. But if you wait for the little reward contract screen, at least you used to be able to, it would ping in and say, look, you have a stable orbit. Looks like we're still probably good here. There we go. Like 7 million meters out is not going to be enough. We've entered orbit around the moon. Hooray! It's really dark here. Near the moon. So we can make a transmission of data from near here, or we can just keep the experiment. Let's just keep it. Open these. We want to return as much science as we can, so... And I know that means I should have brought the materials bay or a second one. We only have one thermometer, don't we? Alright, so let's review the data. Let's go ahead and transmit. This one takes 8. Oh, did we run out of power? No, we didn't. Alright. So that's 8 more datas. We're close to no power, but fortunately we're not running any life support mods, so that's good. I guess. Alright. So let's go ahead and make our own little revolution around here. Hello, Kerman. Always nice to see it. I don't know, it's just... This is the part of the game that captures my imagination a little more. All the flight stuff around Kerbal is exciting and important and necessary, but actually flying out here, seeing your home world just floating somewhere in the sky, it's pretty cool. Alright, and we're flying away. So I guess the question becomes, if we want to get back, and we're flying retrograde, that means the rules are kind of opposite for how I want to fly. But we still need to try and do this. I think it's going to be better if we try and break orbit from the periapse. So we'll do that. Once again, it's really weird to me that we're not focusing on the moon at all. We can focus on Kerbal, but that's about it. Alright. So we don't want to run SAS right now. We don't want to do this at any acceleration, because that means we can't actually control things. So we have very limited power. But we still have enough power. The Terrier does not generate electricity for whatever reason. I guess because then it would be way too overpowered. Alright, what do we got? Push. And let's put this as far out as we know. Won't go somewhere. So, let's break orbit and see, is this going to shoot us out of the system or not? We have enough fuel to return if it comes down to it. Right, hello again, Moon. Goodbye, Moon. It was fun to visit. And what I'm really curious to see is if now we've orbited the moon and stuff, if we're going to get some contracts for it, or if because we didn't do contracts for the moon, it's not going to care. But this should definitely be more than outside of the sphere of influence. In fact, we're getting closer to Minmus range now. Whoop! Oh boy. Now, what is the sphere of influence of Kerbal? Let's look at the data. Sphere of influence. 84 kilometers. We are a little bit beyond that. So I guess we can do this one of two ways. We can try and see if we can get some science outside from the sun, or we can just burn like hell and see if we can get this back. This is where maneuver nodes are always pretty helpful. Alright. And we can burn it back in. We're not going to hit Minmus, as fun as that would be. I'm trying to remember. I think I have flown to Minmus without maneuver nodes. It's been a really long time. So no, we're not going to escape the sphere of influence of Kerbal today. That's too bad, I guess. I hope you brought a lot of snacks, Jebediah, because you're going to be out here for a while. We've escaped the gravitational influence of the moon, so that's even more monies. And then I guess we could fly around enough and eventually get to Minmus. I think this is like such a janky transfer that I don't know for sure, and I don't really want to necessarily struggle to try. So let's see. All the way down. How far away does... Okay, there's the sun, which looks about the same. Kerbal. Where's Kerbin? Kerbin was that pale little blue dot of a planet. That's right there. It's like, why can't I see it? It's over here, you moron. And the moon's actually right behind it right now, so that's pretty cool. I'm going to go retrograde here. All we're doing is just fixing some things. See if we can get back to the planet in time. So see, the moon's right where we left it. It does take some more energy to do this. We still have plenty of fuel, though, so that is a big positive. All right. Two, one. Now, I'm very curious here. You know, part of me is thinking we should play it safe. We should only let ourselves skip into the upper atmosphere a few times and come back down. But the rest of me is like, I want to be really aggressive and see what it looks like if we're just going to burn to a crisp and not be able to deploy parachutes. But I think it's probably for the best if we just do it this way. So 44 is probably safe. Well, 22 is definitely not safe. We'll do, I want to do like 40 or 35. I'm going to take a few dips into the atmosphere. I want to see if our ablative shielding works like it's supposed to. But that's the thing about, okay. I should have kept that on there. All right, one more course correction. This time we won't fat finger the button. All right. 36. Good enough. And we're just going to go ahead and detach you. Decouple. And now we're just floating in space without, or at the mercy of space. How fun is that? Our periapsis is now not where I wanted it to be. Okay, this is going to be interesting. I think I'm still going to be flying too fast, but I guess I should have been a little more... Ooh, that's a lot of days. 23 days, 24 days. Think of all the radiation you've been exposed to, Jebediah, and we're going to be hitting the atmosphere really hard. I just hope against hope that we... it's a nice view. But I really do hope that we don't just eat it right here, because that would make me a little sad. Oh, good. The game's auto-saving. That's very nice of you. All right, so we are flying retrograde. We're actually flying against all the forces. We're flying against the way the toilet water goes when you flush. What will that add to this? I don't know. But whatever it is, we're hitting it really hard, and we're going 3,000 meters per second. Meters per second. Meters per second. So I think that antenna is going to be roasted here in a second. What else is exploding? I'm going to assume that's the antenna that's exploding. We're going to hope that these parachutes actually can survive here. So there is the heat shield, which we didn't put any radiators on here. So hopefully the heat shield doesn't explode. I mean, what's the point of the heat shield if it's gonna just explode? Alright, how are we doing pitching into the world here? Like, I didn't want to go so hard into the atmosphere, but it looks like that's exactly what's happening. So we're gonna have to see if these drag chutes are going to be up to the task. Almost making it. And yeah, it looks like we are just doing a return from the moon. That's cool. We can do it that way. So, still rocketing in really, really fast. Love that little fire. It's just going off here. Look, Jebediah's on fire. Hey, Jeb. What's up? Well, you've certainly flown further and longer than any Kerbal Nut has ever flown before. The question is that can we land you without turning you into paste? And I don't know the answer to that question. So some of these are unsafe to deploy. Risky, now safe. Let's move you guys down here to a separate stage. Alright. The idea there is that it's supposed to slow us down. And they did. We live! Despite our best efforts, we live. We may even get a different biome that we can look at here. So that's a positive. We're landing completely on the other side of the world from the Kerbal Space Center. But what else is new? Go for that maximum return profit, right? But yeah, very aggressive descent back into the world. Still, though, I think we're doing all right. But yeah, I think that's going to probably right around be the stream for this one here with Kerbal Space Program. I mainly just want to see what is going on with the contracts here. If we get much of anything new that's moon related, since we have been to the moon, or if we need to grind out some of these other missions first. Because so far it's a lot of the same. And like I said before, I apologize, it's a little weird that the save didn't necessarily stick, but this is pre-release, so that can happen sometimes. Plus, we still got to see some Kerbals explode. I promised, and we delivered. So let's hope this service bay survives the landing. It should. We have a heat shield to break the fall. But as I said in a previous video on YouTube, my plans for Kerbal Space Program are kind of multifaceted. Some of what I want to do is just essentially give some guides, not necessarily rough footage like this, because this is definitely rough and experimental and we're still learning things. What's changed, what stayed the same in 1.1. But more importantly, we want to kind of use this as a teaching tool. I find people tend to find guides that I write or create fairly informative, and I'd like to help people get across the solar system. Our science survived. Okay, EVA. EVA report. This is still the grassland, so we don't need to do a surface report of it. That's just board. Or maybe we do already have it, maybe we don't. But let's go ahead and just recover, because I don't feel like doing the recovery twice. Recovery! Get. Any day now. There we go. So 118 science, or 188, 110 collected here. Crew report in space near the moon. Temperature gathered, space near the moon. Those are all very valuable. And we got to actually return them. And we should have gotten a recovery vessel from orbit around the moon. So we actually recovered. Yay! That's all very good. Crew here, Jebediah. Advanced level game 5 experience. 0 reputation. Interesting. So let's take a look and see what mission control has to offer us. Still 2 missions here. But let's see. We have some upgraded missions. Fly by the moon. Really, they're sending tourists back to us again. Orbit, fly by the moon, orbit around Kerbin. So if we can get some bigger passenger compartments here, which we can actually unlock, we can do some of these missions with mostly the same design we already had, which is pretty nice. And look, science data from around the moon. Pretty simple. But yeah, that's going to do it for this one. I think I will actually, might actually have a window where I can stream a little bit later this afternoon. So I may take a lunch break and see if I can come back here and do this a little later. But that's it for now. This is Asher. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for sticking around, those of you that are able to pop into the stream. And hello to those of you that are watching this later on YouTube. It is going to be spliced into a few parts, because I know some of you appreciate the longer VODs, while others of you like having sort of shorter things. So let's watch the sunrise on Kerbin. somewhere, some way, shape, or form. Just look over the ocean and think about Kerbal Space Program 1.1 here soon. If there's anything else you want to see, let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching. We're going to go ahead and kill the stream. If I can find the buttons. I cannot find the buttons. There we go. But thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around. And I will see you again in the days to come. And let's hit the button. Bye-bye, Twitch. See you later.